Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Faith in Action on the Fr.TEDTalks channel. Today, I want to speak about something that many people have asked me about, and that is prayer ropes. So this is a prayer rope. This is, one of the tools that we use in Orthodoxy for prayer. It is akin to what Westerners would think of as the rosary. Indeed, the rosary comes from the prayer rope. The prayer rope is the more ancient tradition. And, what is a prayer rope? A prayer rope is a tool that we use for repetition of prayer in our ascetic life, in our personal prayer life. And it is a way for us not necessarily to count prayers, but rather to help us focus on something. So let's take a closer look at what this means and how it's constructed and how we actually use it. So the prayer rope is constructed of different beads, and those beads or knots are made by 7 little crosses, right? So it's kind of difficult to kind of see in the camera here. There we go. But these kind of knots are actually 7 little crosses that are made by people by hand, and usually by monastics, but really prayer ropes can be made by anybody. This particular prayer rope is 100 knots separated into kind of sections of 25. And basically, this is one style of many different styles. There are prayer ropes that are 33, or they're 20, or they can be 500 knots, they can be 50 knots. They are not always the same amount, and it's really irrelevant about the total amount of knots, but rather how we use it. So the prayer rope usually starts with a cross at the end, right? And this is where we start, and we usually use it to pray most of the time the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. But also we can use it to pray other prayers as well. There's Kyrie eleison, there is O Mary full of grace, the Lord is with thee. There are different prayers that we read in the Orthodox Church, but the Jesus prayer or the Noetic prayer is perhaps the most popular one that we use when we are using the prayer rope. So when using the prayer rope, as I said, we use the Jesus prayer, for example, which is the most popular prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. Or Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. There's a longer form and a short form, but really whatever form that we're using, we usually start with the cross, if there's a cross. Doesn't matter whether there's a tassel or not. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But we start with the cross. We usually do our cross, right? And then we start. Now, whether we are seated or whether we are standing, whether we are looking towards an icon or whether we're in the car or whether we're on a bus or anywhere we are, the beauty is that we can use our prayer rope, right, our koboskini. And we usually start with the first bead and we say, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. And we start going through on the prayer rope. And as I had said in the introduction, the purpose of the prayer rope is not to count, not to say, well, I know this is 100, and now, I am counting every single prayer. Rather, it is there just to kind of help us focus, right? So, for example, when somebody says, well, Father, how many Jesus prayers should I say? And I say, well, do you have a prayer rope? They say, yes. I go, how many beads on there? They say, there are 100 beads or 100 knots on that one. I said, okay, so at the end of your evening prayers, for example, do 1 round on your koboskini, which basically means do 100 Jesus prayers. Or if it's a 50, well, maybe do 1 round or 2 rounds. And it just gives you an idea of kind of how many you're doing, but it's not that you have to count because the actual prayer rope will count for you. Yeah, I don't even have to look down at it. When I just start at the cross, I start praying, and I know that when I get around to the other side and I actually hit the cross again, I know that I've completed. So it takes away that kind of anxiety of trying to count my prayers, where I can just focus completely on the words of the Jesus prayer while the prayer rope does the rest of the work, right? Another beautiful thing is that, prayer ropes have to be made by somebody. These knots it's impossible to make these specific knots with a machine. It has to be done by a human being. And perhaps I will do a video in the future on how to make a prayer rope, because I make them myself as well. And it is a beautiful, beautiful skill to have. But it has to be done on the human hand, and it is impossible for like a robot or an automated machine to make it, which means that any prayer rope you ever buy, even if you buy it in a monastery or even if you buy it in a religious store, if it's the actual proper knots that, are part of the prayer rope, that somebody had to sit there many, many hours to make one of these. And they have to put a lot of prayer into it, so that when I am even receiving one of these or buying one of these, I am taking with me already hundreds and hundreds of prayers that have gone into just making one of these prayer ropes. Because as I said, like when I do these knots and I make these knots, it can take me multiple prayers just to make one knot. And then of course, if you multiply that by 100 or by 50 or whatever, that's a lot of prayer that has already gone into it. So I always think of it as carrying all these people's prayers with me and helping me in my prayer life as well. So it is a very, very beautiful tradition of praying with your prayer rope. It can be done at any time. The Jesus prayer especially helps, focus our mind, helps dissipate logismi, evil thoughts and distracting thoughts from our minds by focusing on the name of Christ, focusing on his mercy, and focusing on our humility, on our sinfulness, and that acknowledging that we're sinners, that we need help. And it helps push out all the other distractions in life. And so when we have difficulties in life, when we're experiencing anxiety, when we're experiencing stress, it's wonderful to have a prayer rope on us and to be able to do the Jesus prayer or to do any other prayer that our spiritual father might have given us to do. So the prayer rope is a tool. It is there to help us pray. It is a beautiful thing to have on us at any given time. I try to have one on me at all times, and I try to pray multiple times during the day to kind of keep myself calm and centered and to keep Christ at the forefront of my mind. And I hope that all of you, if you don't already have one, to pick one up. We sell them at the church. Often I give them away as well. You can find them at the monastery. You can find them online. You can really find them anywhere. And so I do highly recommend using the prayer rope in your prayer life and, respecting the beautiful tradition that it comes from and as a tool to help you kind of focus your prayer life in a more constructive way. Anyways, till next time, I do hope that this video was helpful, and we will see you in a couple of weeks on another Faith in Action. Take care and God bless.